Would you believe these high-end home decor pieces started as cheap random thrift store finds? What if I told you that your local thrift store is hiding secret treasures that can transform into stunning high-end dupes? I'm talking Pottery Barn vibes for just a few dollars. Hey friends, I'm Sonja and this is DIYs with Sonja, your go-to spot for high-end home decor dupes, budget-friendly DIYs, and designer-inspired thrift flips you can actually afford. In today's video, I'm rounding up my absolute favorite thrifty DIY projects, all made from secondhand items that got a total glow up. This video is packed with crazy creative thrift flips, elevated trash to treasure transformations, and easy thrifted DIYs that you can proudly display in your home. From outdated junk to luxe modern looks, you won't believe these before and afters. So if you love thrift store makeovers, Pottery Barn dupes, and easy DIY home decor, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and let's jump into these stunning transformations. Today's DIYs with the wicker tray that I picked up thrifting just this past weekend for only $3. Honestly, it was one of those finds where you know it has potential even though the color isn't quite right. I love the design and style, but I just couldn't see it fitting into my home without a little update. As I was brainstorming ideas, I came across a similar tray online at Maggie & Co. priced at $39. I loved the color they used, but knew it would be a challenge to recreate. While searching for more inspiration, I found some baskets on the same website with the shade that I absolutely loved, so I went for that instead. To achieve the look, I used creamy acrylic paint mixed with a touch of brown and a bit of water. I applied it using a wet paper towel, which allowed me to create soft blended strokes. For the details and crevices, I used a sponge brush to make sure everything was covered evenly. I repeated the same process on the back and I just love how it turned out. Right now, it's styled in my living room and it adds such a cozy natural touch to the space. For $3, you really can't go wrong. Next up, I worked on a vase I found for $5 at the thrift store. I love when I can take something outdated and give it a completely fresh look. This vase had a lovely shape and some subtle texture, but needed a makeover to fit my style. I was inspired by Ophelia Martin Natural Vase, which retails for $150 at Crate and Barrel. Can you believe that? While it's beautiful, I was confident I could recreate a similar look for a fraction of the cost. Started with the base coat of any Sloan chalk paint in the color Country Gray, a warm beige tone that pairs perfectly with neutral decor. After the first coat dried, I went in with a thicker second coat, dabbing the paint to create texture. If your paint isn't thick enough, you can always add cornstarch to give it more body. Once that layer dried, I blended brown and beige paints using a damp sponge, softly adding color to random spots for a natural age effect. I love how this piece came out. It's now sitting on my tray and it gives such a high-end feel, exactly what I was going for. Plus, I saved so much money. If you'd like to see how I'm decorating my home after Christmas and using some of these DIYs, head on over to my home channel where I'm currently sharing how I transition my decor from Christmas to winter. I hope it gives you some inspiration for your own home. The link to my home channel is in the description box, or just search up at home with Sonja. For the last DIY, I've been so excited to recreate this for a while now. I've been searching for vintage salt and pepper mills, but I couldn't find any in secondhand stores, thrift shops, or even antique stores. Online, they're quite pricey. On Amazon, they're over $200. So when I came across two of these at thrift store for just $5.99 for both, I knew I had to give them a makeover to achieve the vintage inspired look I wanted. I took inspiration from a tray I recently purchased, which had this beautiful aged gold finish, and I decided to recreate that look on the mills. I started by spray painting them fully in metallic gold for a base. After that dried, I began layering on different shades of gold, soft gold, yellow gold, and a touch of black, using a craft sponge and a brush. However, I quickly realized that the surface was too slippery and the paint wasn't blending the way I wanted it. I switched to using a paper towel and it worked perfectly. The texture of the paper towel allowed me to dab and blend the colors seamlessly, creating a more natural vintage look. To ensure the finish wouldn't rub off, you can seal everything with the matte Mod Podge layer. This will also give the surface better grip for blending the paint. The final result, these salt and pepper mills turned out beautiful and match my kitchen decor exactly how I envisioned it. Thank you so much for joining me for these high-end DIY dupes. I hope you have found some inspiration to recreate designer looks on a budget. Let me know in the comments which project was your favorite, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you are new here. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, have a wonderful day and thank you so much for watching. First DIY is inspired by the Pottery Barn textured earthenware vase, which retails for a whooping $99, but we're making our own for just a few dollars. I'm starting with a thrifted vase that has a great shape but definitely needs a makeover. To achieve that high-end textured look, I am applying drywall compound all over the vase using a putty knife. This is a trick I use often because it creates a beautiful organic texture that mimics expensive earthenware. If you don't have drywall compound, you can also use baking soda mixed with paint for a similar effect, or even plaster of Paris mixed into a fairly thick texture. While I'm applying the drywall compound, I wanted to mention that this video is extra special because I'm collaborating with my best friend Sandra from DIYs at the Schwalmen's Nest. Sandra and I have been friends for over 24 years and used to even live on the same street. We have been DIYing together for years and I love her creativity. She's also sharing some amazing DIYs today, so be sure to check out her video after this one. I will have her channel and video linked down in the description box. And if it's your first time stopping by from her channel, hello and welcome. And if you're visiting her channel for the first time from my channel, make sure to say hello to her and let her know Sonja sent you. Moving on to the vase, once the drywall compound was applied, I did not wait for it to dry before creating the lines. I used a comb to make the lines evenly distributed, referencing my inspiration piece as a guide. This process was very therapeutic and I really enjoyed it. Once it dried for about 24 hours, I sanded down any rough peaks using sandpaper from Dollar Tree. The final result turned out stunning, and I think it's a very close match to the Pottery Barn inspiration piece for just a fraction of the price. You can customize this however you like. You can leave it as is, like I am doing, or paint it with a creamy white, a deep terracotta, or even a soft gray to match your decor. The end result is a high-end looking vase that you would never guess was a thrift store find. Wicker rattan and woven decor pieces are some of my favorite things to look for at thrift stores because they're so much more affordable than buying new. Most high-end stores charge a fortune for these, but thrift stores usually have a great selection. If you don't love the original color, don't worry, you can easily update it with gel stain, watered down paint, chalk paint, or even wax. For my piece, I'm using a combination of dark wax and white wax to deepen the tone while still letting the natural woven texture shine through. So the next piece that I'm working on is this thrifted tray, which I got for just $2.99. It was the perfect shape and I loved the design, but the color was a little too yellow for my taste. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but I wanted to give it a slightly different look. I recently picked up this rattan style bunny from HomeSense and I love the warm natural tone of it. This was the color I wanted to replicate on the tray. To achieve that look, I mixed white wax with dark antiquing wax and applied it to the tray. I think it really helped to tone down the yellow, and the final result was pretty close to the color of the bunny. Like I said, trays like these can be so expensive in stores, so I always keep an eye out for them at thrift stores. This one was actually picked up for me by Sandra. She was out thrifting, sending me pictures, and I grabbed it for me. Sometimes having a personal shopper really comes in handy, and I'm so grateful for Sandra. One thing to note about using wax, it does take some time to cure. Right after applying it, the tray felt a little sticky, and the more I handled it, the more wax rubbed off. But after about 24 hours, it was completely fine. I used the rag to wipe off some of the excess wax and then reapplied a little bit more in certain areas to get that perfect finish. This is such a great way to incorporate warmth and natural elements into your decor, and the best part is that not two pieces are ever the same. Okay, so let's kick things off with a project that's going to totally elevate your space. This aged paper mache bowl. I've been obsessed with this look, especially from Olive Atelier, but let's be honest, spending this much money on a bowl is just not in cards for me. So I decided to make my own. And trust me, you can totally do this too. So I found this adorable ceramic bowl at a thrift store for just a few dollars. It was in great condition but didn't have the designer feel yet. I gave it a quick clean and then added a layer of Mod Podge. This step will help the plaster adhere better and give it that smooth, seamless texture that you see in high-end pieces. I will be using plaster of Paris that I picked up at Dollarama for just $3. I mix it up with water to create a thick, creamy consistency. You want it to be thick enough to spread on a bowl, but not so thin that it drips. I also want to mention that I know I'm replicating a paper mache look. I did do a DIY that I shared a while back. I will link it in the corner here. That was actual paper mache. I just wanted this time to use a different material, but that it gives me almost the same kind of look. So this is why I'm using plaster of Paris this time. I started with a thin layer, just covering the surface, and then let it dry. Once it dried, I went in for a second coat, this time adding some texture by using a spatula. I made sure to leave little peaks and valleys for a realistic organic look. Once it dried, it was time to give the bowl some character. Once it was completely dry, I grabbed my chalk paint. I used a soft natural tone that's warm but doesn't scream trying too hard. I painted it all over and let it dry. After the paint dried, I used some dirt. Yep, dirt. I rubbed it on textured areas to give the bowl a more aged, authentic look. If you're not into dirt, you can always use dark wax or even coffee grounds, anything that gives a deep vintage feel. And look at how gorgeous this turned out. It's a perfect statement piece for your home. And the best part, I didn't spend more than 10 on the whole thing, which is fraction of what this could would cost from a designer. I've been wanting a lamp like this for such a long time, but every time I looked at the price, it just wasn't happening. I couldn't find one that was decently priced, so I thought, why not make one myself? I'd love to know what you guys think about this project. So, for the last project, if you're following me on my channel, I've talked about getting a new lamp for my hallway table. I found this one for $6.29, which I thought was a great price. Then I had to go find a lampshade for it, and it was another $5.49. So for under $12, I had a brand new lamp. The color wasn't bad, but it didn't match my style at all, so I knew I'd have to customize it. I was going for more of a rustic, all black and brown vibe. Here's a photo of what I had in mind, something like this. The shape is quite similar to the one I found, but mine is a little bit slimmer and taller. I thought I could make it work with just a little tweak of color. The first thing I did was apply a coat of anti-slone chalk paint. This was mainly to get rid of the smooth, shiny surface and give the lamp some texture. I just painted one single coat to cover as much of the original color as possible. Once it dried, it was ready for the fun part. I had several colors ready to go. I used a warm beige, a deep brown, which I think was called deep brown, cinnamon brown, and a touch of black to blend everything in. I started with the brown color first and then applied the other brown, then the black, and finished with the beige. I really love I really took my time applying each color and blending it with paper towel. I find the paper towel gives the best texture and look, better than sponge or those little craft sponge in my opinion. This step is definitely personal and a bit of a process, but it's totally worth it. I just dabbed, mixed, and blended until I got the exact look I was going for. It's all about creating layers and depth. For those little crevices that I couldn't get in with the paper towel, I used a small sponge brush. I dabbed it on all the colors and tapped it gently into the grooves to make sure I got full coverage. I also decided to paint a little part black because you can kind of see it from a certain angle. The top part of the lamp I painted black as well. Now, ideally, black spray paint would have been perfect for that top part, but I didn't have any, so I just worked with what I had. And here it is. It's now sitting proudly on my entryway table. I absolutely love how it turned out. It has this curated high-end look that makes the whole table feel more put together. For under $12, I know now I have a lamp that fits my style perfectly. What do you guys think? I am so happy with the result. Now for my favorite DIY of the day, a thrifted vase transformation. My friend was out thrifting and sent me a picture of this huge vase for only 17.99. Of course, I had to have it. I loved the shape and texture, but the color wasn't quite right. I debated different finishes, textured, concrete look, or even baking soda paint, but after searching for inspiration, I noticed black vases from McGee& Co., Crate and Barrel, and Pottery Barn came popping up. So that's what I went with. I used Rust-Oleum chalk paint in charcoal, which isn't a true black but more of a deep graphite gray. It took two coats for full coverage. Because the vase was glossy, I recommend using a primer beforehand or lightly sanding the surface for better adhesion. I didn't do this and it made the next step a little tricky. Once the paint dry, I applied a whitewash technique to add depth. I thinned down some white acrylic paint with water and I planned to brush it on and wipe it off. But when I wiped, the black paint started coming off too. This is where a primer would have helped. To fix this, I used a damp rag to damp the whitewash, to dab the whitewash on instead of rubbing it. This method worked perfectly and gave the vase the subtle high-end look. I highly recommend sealing it with a spray sealer so the paint doesn't rub off over time. I absolutely love how the piece turned out. I have a few black vases in my collection, but this one is a new favorite. And that's it for today's DIY thrift store flips. I hope these transformations inspired you to see the potential in secondhand finds. Next up is a quick thrifted makeover that I absolutely love doing. I picked up this metal candle holder at the thrift store for just $2. It had a bit of a heart shape to it, which wasn't quite my vibe, so I bent it into a straight line. I started by spray painting in matte black, then lightly misted it with an antique brass spray paint to give it a layered, aged metal look. You can find similar high-end candle holders on Amazon or stores like McGee& Co., but definitely not for $2. The scalloped edge on this one made it feel unique and elevated, and it couldn't have been easier to make over. Last but not least, I grabbed this jug style vase at the thrift store for $3.29. It's not huge, but I love the shape. It reminds me of the sculptural vases you see at Olive Atelier, Pottery Barn, and McGee& Co., which can run anywhere from $30 to $150. I use country gray chalk paint to give it a creamy matte base. Chalk paint is amazing for this because it covers really well in just one or two coats, even over glossy or textured finishes. I used a wide brush for the body and a smaller brush for all the little crevices. After it dried fully, I was planning to go back in with the darker tones, maybe espresso or cinnamon brown or even a bit of black for texture. But once the first coat dried, I loved the look so much that I left it as is. To give it a ceramic inspired finish, I sealed it with a clear gloss spray, and it added the perfect subtle sheen. It looks so clean, high end, and custom, perfect for neutral, vintage inspired home decor. If you enjoyed these easy last DIY, it was actually a Pottery Barn piece to begin with. I found this wooden serving board at a garage sale for just $3. It's the same size as the current $249 footed board Pottery Barn sells, just a different shape. I wanted to give it that vintage reclaimed look you see in their catalog spreads, so I started by sanding off the old finish using my orbital sander with an 80 grit pad. I did not want it to bore you with that, so I just did it off camera. Once it was clean and bare, I applied 2 coats of Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain in Whiskey Barrel. This is a water-based gel stain. I love how deep and warm this color is. And then I sealed it with gator hide using a sponge applicator. I'm not planning to use it for food, it's more for styling, so sealing gives that rich, finished look without worrying about durability. And that's it. 3 completely different Pottery Barn dupes, all with that elevated designer feel without the designer price tag. If you enjoy these projects and want more high-end DIYs on a budget, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. We're kicking things off with a beautiful thrifted glass jar I found at Goodwill for just $4.99. Such a great find. The price sticker was already half gone by the time I got home because I was so excited to work on it. At first, I was going to give it a quick spray with Rust-Oleum's Nutmeg, one of my favorite warm tone spray paints right now, but then I remembered the inspiration piece, the confit jar from Olive Ateliers. It has the most beautiful aged texture, so I decided to go for that look instead. I let the spray paint dry completely, and then I went in with some country gray chalk paint to create that soft matte texture. If you don't have chalk paint, don't worry. You can use any light colored paint and mix in a little baking soda or cornstarch. This thickens the paint and gives it that aged pottery feel we love. I just happened to have chalk paint on hand, and mine was already quite thick, which helped add a nice subtle texture. Once everything was dry, I sprayed one final coat of the nutmeg color over the textured surface. I've been obsessed with how this color looks on glass lately. It's earthy, cozy, and perfect for a vintage-inspired piece. The original Olive Atelier's jar, it's listed at $115. Mine, just around $5.50, including the paint. It now sits on my kitchen counter, and I truly love how it turned out. Rustic, timeless, and full of charm. Next up, I want to show you a set of thrifted glass vases that I found while specifically hunting for something with a thick rim and a cloudy recycled glass feel. I got really lucky. The larger vase was $3.99 and the smaller one was $3.49. I also picked up a few more from Dollar Tree and Dollarama to round out the collection, especially since I was recreating the look of the hammered cafe hurricane vases from Pottery Barn, which ranged from $134 to $138. To mimic that frosted textured finish, I used gloss Mod Podge and dabbed on with a paper towel in a sponging motion. This gave the surface a cloudy, hand-blown glass look with extra texture. Don't forget to do a rim too. I repeated this on all of the smaller vases, and once dry, they looked perfectly weathered and collected, just like the originals. All of them grouped together create a gorgeous moment. They'll be perfect on a patio table for cozy ambient vibe when entertaining outdoors. I'm starting with these framed arm prints I found at Goodwill for just $3.99 each. I picked up two, but for today's project, I'll be working on one of them. Now, I actually really like the print inside. It has a beautiful home architecture in it, but the one inside that I found once I opened up the frame up, it had a soft summery feel that I thought was so pretty. But the frame itself needed a little refresh. My plan was to keep the print and give the frame a completely new look. To start, I grabbed my knife, the same one I always keep in my DIY kit. I don't use a new one each time. This one has been with me through a lot of projects. I carefully loosened up the back and removed the artwork. And here's where I was pleasantly surprised. The print on the back was even better than I thought. It's absolutely perfect for summer decorating, so I made sure to hold on to it. Now, just a quick heads up, the camera angle was a bit off-center during this part. I didn't realize it until editing, so thanks for bearing with me on that. As for the frame, I had a couple of ideas in mind, but I finally decided on spray painting. I used a beautiful leather brown shade. It looks like a creamy milk chocolate and gives a real rich base. After covering the whole piece with a solid coat, I wanted to add a little character, so I wrapped a Kleenex or just you could use also just a baby wipe around a pair of scissors and lightly rubbed off some of the paint off the raised edges. This helped lighten those areas and give them a more natural worn look. Once the first layer dried, I went back in with the Rust-Oleum Nutmeg spray paint. Here's the trick: you have to work in sections and you have to work fast. I'd spray a section with nutmeg, then immediately go in with a dry chippy brush and brush it out with soft, inconsistent strokes. This technique created a beautiful faux wood grain effect, and I was honestly amazed at how it transformed the frame. I repeated this process on all four sides, and when everything was completely dry, I reassembled the frame. I taped the artwork to the backing, popped the cardboard back in, and pushed the little nails down to secure it. And look at this transformation. It looks like a custom piece just you'd pay 40 or more for in a store. The best part, I can switch out the print for different seasons, which make it such a versatile piece of home decor. Next up, this lamp I picked up from Temu. I absolutely love the shape and the overall design, but it just wasn't working in my space. I think the pale rattan color was throwing me off. So out came the nutmeg spray paint again. I taped off the light bulb and any exposed electrical parts, then gave the entire lamp a good even coat. If you're enjoying these transformations so far, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel grow. And if you love high-end look for less, don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new DIY. I've got tons more budget-friendly home ideas coming your way. And let me tell you, the color change made all the difference. It now feels warm, cohesive, and fits so much better into my space. It's amazing what a simple can of spray paint can do, especially when you're trying to blend different textures and tones into your decor. Speaking of spray painting rattan, I also gave this thrifted basket a makeover. Now, full transparency, my camera wasn't recording during the actual painting process. Not sure what happened, but I still wanted to share the results. Here's what it looked like after, and here's what it looked like before. Both versions are nice, but I personally love how the new color ties into my overall aesthetic a bit more. It's a subtle change, but sometimes those are the ones that make the biggest impact. I picked this basket up for $3.99, and now it looks like something you find in a boutique for triple the price. Finally, I found these two candlesticks at Value Village for just $2.99. They had great shape, but I wanted them to look more antique, more collected. I started by spray painting them with metallic gold for a full base coat. Once that dry, I added a very light misting of antique bronze and then a few touches of black spray paint just in random spots to give it some patina. The result is the gorgeous aged brass look, elegant, timeless, and perfect for layering into your year round decor. I can't wait to start styling with these.